Tivoli, the classical Tibur, is an ancient Italian town in Lazio, about 30 kilometers east-northeast of Rome, at the falls of the Anine River where it issues from the Sabine Hills. The city offers a wide view over the Roman Campagna. History. Gaius Julius Solinus cites Cato the Elder's Lost Origines for the story that the city was founded by Catius the Arcadian, a son of Amphiaraus, who came there having escaped the slaughter at Thebes, Greece. Catius and his three sons Tiburtus, Chorus, and Catillus drove out the Siculi from the Anine Plateau and founded a city they named Tibur in honor of Tiburtus. According to a more historical account, Tibur was instead a colony of Alba Longa. Historical traces of settlement in the area date back to the 13th century BC. The city's name may share a common root with the river Tiber and the Latin pronomen Tiberius. Virgil in his Aeneid makes Chorus and the younger Catillus twin brothers and the leaders of military forces from Tibur aiding Turnus. From Etruscan times, Tibur, a Sabine city, was the seat of the Tiburtine Sibyl. There are two small temples above the falls, the rotunda traditionally associated with Vesta and the rectangular one with the Sibyl of Tibur, whom Varro calls Albany. The water nymph who was worshipped on the banks of the Ania as a 10th Sibyl added to the 9 mentioned by the Greek writers. In the nearby woods, Faunus had a sacred grove. During the Roman age, Tibur maintained a certain importance, being on the way that Romans had to follow to cross the mountain regions of the Apennines towards the Abruzzo, the region where lived some of its fiercest enemies such as Volscia, Sabini and Samnites. Roman age. At first an independent ally of Rome, Tibur allied itself with the Gauls in 361 BC. Vestiges remain of its defensive walls of this period in Opus Quadratum. In 338 BC, however, Tibur was defeated and absorbed by the Romans. The most famous one, of which the ruins remain, is the Villa Adriana. Maecenas and Augustus also had villas at Tibur, and the poet Horace had a modest villa. He and Catullus and Statius all mention Tibur in the poems. In 273, Zenobia, the captive queen of Palmyra, was assigned a residence here by the Emperor Aurelian. The 2nd century Temple of Hercules Victor is being excavated. The present Piazza del Duomo occupies the Roman Forum, but its inhabitants are still called Tiburtini and not Tivolesi. In 547, in the course of the Gothic War, the city was fortified by the Byzantine general Belisarius, but was later destroyed by Totila's army. After the end of the war it became a Byzantine duchy, later absorbed into the patrimony of St. Peter. After Italy was conquered by Charlemagne, Tivoli was under the authority of a count, representing the emperor. Middle Ages. From the 10th century onwards, Tivoli, as an independent commune governed by its elected consuls, was the fiercest rival of Rome in the struggle for the control over the impoverished central Lazio. Emperor Otto III conquered it in 1001, and Tivoli fell under the papal control. Tivoli, however, managed to keep a level of independence until the 15th century. Symbols of the city's strength were the Palace of Arengo, the Tor del Comune and the Church of St. Michael, all built in this period, as well as the new line of walls, needed to house the increasing population. Reminders of the internal turbulence of communal life are the tower houses that may be seen in Vicolo dei Ferri, Via di Postera, Via del Seminario and Via del Col. In the 13th century the Senate of Rome imposed a tribute on the city, and gave itself the right to appoint a count to govern it in conjunction with the local consuls. In the 14th century Tivoli sided with the Guelphs and strongly supported Urban VI against anti-Pope Clement VII. King Ladislaus of Sicily was twice repulsed from the city, as was the famous condottiero Braccio da Montone. In the city there was also a Jewish community. Renaissance. During the Renaissance, popes and cardinals did not limit their embellishment program to Rome, and erected buildings in Tivoli also. In 1461, Pope Pius II built the massive Rocca Pia to control the always restive population, and as a symbol of the permanence of papal temporal power here. From the 16th century, the city saw further construction of villas. The most famous of these is the Villa d'Este, a World Heritage Site, whose construction was started in 1550 by Piero Ligorio for Cardinal Ippolito II d'Este, and which was richly decorated with an ambitious program of frescoes by famous painters of late Roman mannerism, such Girolamo Muziano, Livia Agresta or Federico Zuccari. In 1527, Tivoli was sacked by bands of the supporters of the emperor and the Colonna, important archives being destroyed during the attack. In 1547 it was again occupied by the Duke of Alba in a war against Paul IV, and in 1744 by the Austrians. In 1835, Pope Gregory XVI added the Villa Gregoriana, a villa complex pivoting around the Annien's Falls. The Great Waterfall was created through a tunnel in the Monte Catillo, to give an outlet to the waters of the Annine sufficient to preserve the city from inundations like the devastating flood of 1826. Modern times. In 1944, Tivoli suffered heavy damage under an Allied bombing, which totally destroyed the Jesuit Church of Jesus. Tivoli's reputation as a stylish resort and the fame of the gardens of the Villa d'Este have inspired the naming of other sites after Tivoli. The Wurlitz Synagogue in the Des or Wurlitz Garden realm is a replica of the Temple of Vesta at Tivoli. Geography. Climate. Tivoli has a Mediterranean climate with warm and dry summers and cool and wet winters. Economy. Tivoli's quarries produce travertine, a particular white calcium carbonate rock used in building most Roman monuments. The water power of the falls supplies some of the electricity that lights Rome. The slopes of the neighboring hills are covered with olives, vineyards and gardens. The most important local industry is the manufacture of paper. Main sites. Villa Adriana, part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site list from 1999. Villa d'Este, part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site list since 2001. Villa Gregoriana, Rocca Pia, a 15th-century fortress built in 1461 under Pope Pius II to counter the urban strifes between the Colonna and Orsini. Temple of Vesta, Temple of Tiburtine Sibyl. It was built in the 2nd century BC on an artificial platform in the Acropolis, characterized by Ionic columns. It measures 15.90 by 9.15 meters. The interior was decorated by frescoes and stuccos, now lost. A church, dedicated to Saint George, is known to have existed in the temple from as early as 978 AD. Sanctuary of Hercules the Winner. Now in ruins, it was one of the largest structures in central Italy at the time, and was located outside the ancient city, across the road leading to Samnium. Measuring 188 by 140 meters, it included a theatre, a large porticoed square and the temple. It was reached through a series of terraces, in a similar fashion to the Sanctuary of Fortuna Primigenia in Palestrina. The sanctuary also housed one of the more frequented council of musicians in Roman Italy. Tivoli Cathedral, Roman Temple of the Tost, located near the Temple of Hercules and the Villa d'Este and dating perhaps to the early 4th century AD. It is a circular structure with a hole in the 12-meter diameter dome. In the 10th it was turned into a church dedicated to the Virgin Mary. Miscellaneous. The Danish amusement park Tivoli Gardens is named after the gardens at Villa d'Este in Tivoli.